We're in.
Here we go. We are now live. Hello, everyone. Jess Claire here with the awesome Tom Forts Mayor. We were meant to go live tonight in Earth Elders, but somehow our admin access has been kicked off. So here we are on our personal page, and we're going to give it everything we've got to Evolution Solutions. This is part 3 for 4-part series. We're going to give it everything. So if you are coming on, I'm just going to bring this up on my page if you want to share it. Do you want to share it, Tom?
Yeah, I would love to.
Or you can't share it?
No,
yeah,
I can.
You do that.
I can do it actually on my laptop.
Oh,
so
yeah?
I'll do that. So this is on
my page and on Global Entertain as well. It's on Evolve and it's also on my page.
Okay.
So
I'll find that now. You filler.
All right, I'll do the filler. Okay, guys, if you are jumping on, please make sure you leave us a comment. This is a really awesome 4-part series. We actually want to work with people personally tonight. What we've done in the last 2 is we've covered topics such as corruption in the governments. We've covered 5G. We've covered the Illuminati. If you don't know what those things are, please make some comments. Next minute, Facebook jail. People are like, next minute, Facebook jail. You know what? Funnily enough, Tom and I never get put in Facebook jail. And we cover all ends of the debate. So who wants to be personally coached by us? That's what we want to know. Tonight, what we've done is effectively have discussions and looked at these things of 5G and whether things are getting installed or not, and looked at ends of the debate on that, looked at some of the theories of David Icke and looked at both ends of the debate of that, and the Illuminati, and looked at both ends of the debate on that, right? So we're looking at all of it, and what we effectively summed up was the external world is effectively it's our internal world manifested. So the work there is to do is one by one. So tonight we want to work with someone one by one, and anyone that has the courage to do that, anyone sort of dealing with some stuff, we want to bring anyone that has, thoughts on what's happening and just wants to share that. Rabbit holes, that's right, Tiora. Hello, Kelsey, Jennifer, Talita, Marta, thanks for jumping on. Danelle, everyone who's on, please leave us your comments. I can see the ones on my own Facebook page. If you are trying to make comments on Evolve, for some reason it just comes up with Facebook user. So you will have to, I'll show you. It shows up like that. So you'll have to tell me who you are if you're on Evolve. Just put in your comments who you are so I can interact with you. My eyes just popped out of my head. That's right. We discuss all the things here. Everything you don't think you can talk about publicly. Oh, that's right. Tom and I talk about it. So here we are.
I'm trying to look for you to find it on your page so I can share it, but I can't. So I'll have to share it non-live on my pages later. So otherwise, I'm not concentrating.
Let me see if I can share it. Do you want me to share it to your page? Will that help?
Oh yeah, that would really help. Okay.
I can share it to.
I can take over a little bit of.
Yeah, you take over. Invite and tell people who you are. This awesome man, Tom Forts
Mayor, and I have been working in the area of human consciousness for 20 years. I'm absolutely passionate about the human condition and what can be done to improve it, what gets in the way of our happiness, and transformation, tools of transformation. I've been collecting and gathering paradigm shifting ideas all this time based on a personal experience where I had one single life-changing epiphany. And from that moment, I've been obsessed with the mechanics, the art and science of creating epiphanies for others. And so I really enjoyed. This is the third in a series of 4 of these kind of call-in shows, and the first ones were very much about global problems, social problems, conscious activism, how to change the world from a place of love and effectiveness, and I think we covered that brilliantly. So whilst we can talk about that again this week, I know it's a hot topic. I'm much more interested in talking to some people on their own evolutionary challenges. This is called Evolution Solutions. I first envisaged this as a kind of call-in show. Agony Uncle, Agony Aunt, working with Jess, who's a brilliant coach, to support individuals to look at where they may be stuck, you know, to talk about sabotage, to talk about self-destructive psychology, those areas in your life where you want to make a change, but you're struggling to make a change in that key area. And so for me, it's like when we learn how to evolve our, you know, our own personal realm, then we're already having an impact on the global. And so if you're thinking, oh, well, I wouldn't mind some coaching on this thing, but it's a little bit delicate, we will be gentle with you and your story, but we might be really full on about solutions. And so we're kind-hearted people, have courage, come on, let's explore this together. What I find powerful about working with Jess is we have an openness and we come at things from different angles, and we're evolving as we explore the solutions together. What I'm finding coming through me and others in powerful conversations right now are like revelation. It's being revealed to me as we're expressing it. And so for me, this is the edge of the evolution of consciousness. It is about leaning into the present moment and seeing what's being called through and operating beyond all conditioned ideas, all ideology, and exploring what's being asked to be expressed, to be revealed. So this is not theory. Let's get involved. What are your challenges? You can put them questions in comments, or you can jump on. You can literally jump onto video. We'll put you on the hot seat and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And while we're waiting, because if you do send something through, if you do say, yes, I would like to be, I can send you a link so you can jump on StreamYard with us. And there can be 3 of us on screen like this, or like this, or like this. Yeah, we have so many options here. So we just want you guys to say, yeah, I'm in, I'll send you a link, and then you can come on screen. It sounds a wee spiritual. Is this the right channel? Oh, a wee spiritual. Good. We can start there if you like. Tell me what you think, but what you think is a wee spiritual. I'm not spiritual at all. I get accused of it. I do have a crystal. I wear a crystal. It's a tiger eye. And I do say things, I do things like meditate and stuff. So maybe I am. I don't know. Tom's far more spiritual. Oh my God. Just as I say that, a fly goes right in my third eye.
Yeah, because the universe was stopping you from expressing nonsense.
Okay.
Which I approve of. So, you know.
Yes. Tom is far more spiritual than me. But we cover both realms here. I'm very scientific, intellectuals, thinking, brain. I think you are actually a bit like that too. And
yeah,
at the same,
being very offended over here.
He's actually just so woo-woo, I can't deal. So
I have a scientific base, a rational mind, and was completely opposed to the world of spirituality and personal development for many years, revolted by it, and then had a kind of life-changing moment, an epiphany, a moment of clarity, which was not religious, but it was about seeing the interconnection of all things and the interdependence of all things, and then trying to work out how the hell we live in this world and keep a smile on our face. So for some people, ultimately, I spent the first 27 years of my life being a hedonist, but I was looking for happiness in all the wrong places and all the wrong ways. I'm now still a hedonist. The high point of hedonism is understanding freedom and happiness. And so I have studied some spirituality. It does influence my philosophy in certain ways, but I'm much more interested in your personal journey. Like, what are you struggling with? I'm much more interested in psychology than spirituality, but I really see them as kind of the same thing. They're just different flavors and different sets of tools.
You know, so Shani has just said me. So I've just, and did you say Steph, you want to come on as well? Okay, I'm going to send you both the link so you can come on in here. I've sent you one, Shani. Thank you for taking up the challenge. Hello, Talita and Tiora. Good to see you again. And whilst that's coming on, I'm actually currently in the midst of writing a book. And one of the things I'm addressing there is that psychology, because part of what I'm really passionate about is mental health, right? I'm actually addressing that psychology and psychiatry actually contributes a lot to the decrease in mental health, which is a paradox. The paradox, I would call it, of psychology and psychiatry actually being a big part of the problem of diminishing mental health. So here we have these things that are about improving mental health when actually they keep it in place at times.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about this stuff. All right.
Yes.
Let's talk
so
about
I've
this
even
stuff.
got a whole chapter on my book that's called To Everyone Obsessed with Information, to everyone with an MBA, psychiatry and psychology. Here I am telling you that actually a lot of what you do is absolutely it is absolutely doing the very thing you're trying to stop. You are increasing depression, increasing anxiety, and increasing suicide just by the mere, that's the paradox of it. I'm not saying it doesn't have a place, but I'm saying that there's this paradox called I'm out here to make a difference to people, but actually the very nature and the obsession of the information that's in the modality, you'd call it, or the field of psychology and psychiatry, and some of the ways in which it's practiced and some of the ways in which it's organized is actually contributing to an increase in anxiety, depression, and suicide.
Yes, but let's be really clear. Okay, let's be really, really clear, because some psychologists I've worked with are unbelievable, right? Unbelievable, absolutely driven by heart, and have done enough understanding and research to widen their modality. And so within the field of psychology, there are some amazing practitioners and psychiatry. But that one is based more on the medical model, which has some, in principle, materialistic, mechanical ideas that cause extraordinary problems. But I see someone has joined us.
We have. So we will come back to that very controversial thought that I love to have. And we have with us Steph. Feel like you should have really been sick of me by now. But I love that you jumped on in.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, well, thank you for jumping on. This is Tom, and yeah, well, where do we want to begin? So this is literally, firstly, thanks for having the courage to jump on and have this conversation with us. You know, again, everything that you contribute here and everything that we discuss is pretty much making a difference to everyone watching, even if you can't see it. So people get to see themselves in you. So, yeah, tell us, what are you stuck on? What are you experiencing right now that you want to talk about?
I don't know, a lot of things I feel. I'm not really sure where to start. Was just really drawn to how Tim's speaking and expressing himself, and it was very interesting to listen to. And obviously I know that I'm stuck at the moment and trapped in some sort of revolving door, I guess you can call it, but I just don't know where to start and how to jump out as well.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for just, like Jess said, having the courage just to come and explore with us here, and we're really happy to help. And let's take all the pressure off ourselves for this needing to be profound or useful, or for us needing to get some kind of result. Let's start from the idea that where you are might be difficult, but it's also as it's supposed to be right now. Sometimes the battling with ourselves is part of the compassion we can show to ourselves and others later. Okay. So yeah, let's start and take all that pressure off ourselves. And so you said that you're kind of caught in these cyclical patterns. Usually when that happens, it's because a part of us wants good things to happen, and there's other parts of us that have conflict around that. Okay. Usually when we're all in alignment, then we move forward, we evolve, and things change. But when we get stuck, these are usually quite often really painful patterns, but there's These are usually really beautiful reasons why we're stuck. But the problem is we often end up fighting with ourselves. We become kind of combative internally, and we think that this is a willpower situation. We have to become stronger than this weaker part of ourselves and force change through. But what I've seen to be true, and this is true of society as well, like what changes internally is what makes change externally. Trying to fight and force society to change doesn't work. And so it's true of the individual too. And so I'm just curious. How are you at receiving compliments?
Horrible.
Yeah. So I'm going to guess it's one of the most powerful diagnostic questions that you can ask. Okay. If you could think about, like, if someone was just low confidence and you gave them a compliment, right? It would just be a dream, right? It'd be like, thank you very much. When someone is compliment resistant, it's indicative of one thing and one thing alone. Okay. Which means you have a department inside you that doesn't want you to feel good. Now, at first glance, that's going to sound like bad news, and it's going to sound like this is a negative part of you. Now, the truth is that part is causing real trouble because it has to keep you locked down. It has to stop you from putting yourself forward, has to keep you hidden in all sorts of ways. It means that there'll be people around you that would totally love you, but you would probably find them boring and have no interest in them. And you probably attracted to and attract people that aren't available to you, that don't treat you right, don't see your value. Yeah. And these are the patterns of sabotage. Now, the most amazing thing about sabotage is it is doing it for beautiful reasons. And there's a specific cure. Okay. Okay, so first thing you have to do is you have to stop fighting the protector. We have to think of your saboteur who's holding you back. Yeah, it's using all these things that you obsess about, which you spend time working on, which is just a ruse to keep you from being out there being your glorious, loving, amazing self, right? I'm sure you are out there being your glorious, loving, amazing self, but not as much as you could be, right?
Yeah.
And you don't let yourself receive, you don't ask for help, and you push away good things, right? Okay, so I'd love to tell you that you have an individual problem which is really unique to you. You don't. This is incredibly common, okay? And there's good news because there's a map. Okay, I've been helping people solve this stuff for years, okay? Because I had these issues myself, okay? And so in principle, I'm going to give you straight now why this is happening. Are you okay? You ready?
Yep.
Okay. When we're younger and our needs are not met, we do not want to think of our carers, our parents, as failed or flawed. It's too painful. This is not loyalty, it's survivalism, okay? It's too painful. So we're left with very few choices. I'm giving you the summary here, okay? We're left with very few choices. We do two things. We first of all tell ourselves, no, it's not them, it's me. I'm low value. I'm not that good. I'm not that great. My values aren't right. My needs aren't important. And then the other thing, when our needs aren't consistently met, we then say, okay, well, they're not meeting my needs, but that's normal. That's just what people do. So we have two beliefs. I'm not okay, and the world won't meet my needs. Now, that makes you feel better when you're a kid and your parents aren't being there for you in the way that they let you down. Okay? So then a department wants to believe you're not good. So then I come along, give you a compliment, you're like, ho, I don't want your compliment. Take your compliment and shove it, because if that compliment is true, if you're going to love me, then the little kid inside you goes, what the F was that about? Right? You'll have to really feel the degree to which you were let down. Okay? Yeah. Which, by the way, you've already done. You've probably worked on it. You've been meditating on it for years. You've gone on courses. You've already understood they did their best. They were traumatized too. You've done all the forgiveness work. Doesn't touch the fucking sides. Because your kid inside hasn't first felt the heartbreak. So that's the cure. You have to go on a journey to sit with that little kid inside you and go, bad news, kidder. It wasn't your fault. And it's not normal. You were massively let down. And feel the heartbreak. feel a kid's heartbreak, and you have to be willing to experience all of their disappointment, their sadness, their heartbreak, their trauma, every morsel of it, and to be able to trust that you're safe now. And if you can do that, then she'll be like, oh, so it wasn't my fault. So actually, I'm okay. Actually, I do deserve love, and I can be boundaried, and I can ask for what I want. So you might think that your challenges have been about esteem or confidence or this. That's not true. You have a department in you that has not wanted you to succeed. And you know what? It's exhausted. Keeping your potential locked down, pushing away all that love and all that possibility. It's exhausted. And so this is the key that changes it all. You go in and you meet with this part of you that's been effing things up on purpose. Yeah, there's 3 people I can think of that you know would have absolutely adored you. You could have had amazing relationships, and you messed it up. You either didn't give them a chance, thought they were too boring, or you made a mistake. Push them away. True?
Yeah.
So you could be angry with that part, but don't. It's protecting the kid inside you. That's your protector. It sabotages its tool, which is amazing. But it's really protecting a young kid inside you because it doesn't think you could handle it because you couldn't handle it then. So you have to go in and you have to sit the saboteur down and go, amazing work. I mean, really, you've really messed things up royally. I mean, you've really held back my potential. I'm not earning anywhere near what I deserve, right? You know, I don't let myself look and feel how I could look and feel. I don't, you know, it's just like, you're just doing it. You're doing a real number on me. Thank you. Because I know you felt I couldn't handle it. I know you feel I couldn't handle it. Well, now I'm going to sit down with that kid. I'm going to put it on my lap. I'm going to say, darling, I can feel it now. And I'm sorry you've had to hold it. And so it's, some people say to me, hold on a minute. Like, this is just like open up a can of worms. It's like, no, this is not opening a can of worms. This is rescuing kids. You've got a 4-year-old
Yeah,
and
you have
6-year-old.
that same sort of thought. Yeah, every time I think of kind of, if you have to go back, then something bad's going to come forward from that. Like, is it not just all going to come out of nowhere again?
You're going to have to feel it. And you don't need to do it in one big eruption. But it's the truth is, what's happened to you is not the problem. Okay? There's no damage is possible to the core of our soul and to our validity and our value. It's not what's happened that's the problem. It's what we told ourselves when it happened to make sense of it. And that can change. You can change that now. And so, yes, you're going to go in and your heart's going to break. You could be a wet mess for 3 weeks. Worst case scenario, like a properly unstable wet mess for 3 weeks. Crying it all out, like realizing, fuck, I deserve so much better. I was massively let down. What the F were they thinking? You know, in the visualization, you could imagine putting your little kid behind your knees and you like having a go at them going, what the hell were you thinking? This innocent little child needed just marinating in love. Idiots. You know, it can be angry, it can be messy, but in the heart of it, it's like freedom. It's like a great weight's been lifted off you. And then that part's like, oh, we don't need to blame ourselves or tell ourselves it's normal or prove it's normal by associating with people that won't meet our needs and not being boundaried. It's like, oh, I can ask for help. I can be boundaried. I can be self-loving. I realize I deserved it because everybody does. And then just bit by increment, what you get, and this is what people don't realize, those young parts of you are full of gifts, like full of gifts. Creativity, sensuality, sexuality, playfulness. This is moving from being childish to childlike. You regain this innocence. So you get, it's like not only are you not opening a can of worms, you're opening a can of negative feeling, which by the way lives in your body. So let's feel it and release it. And then rescue this kid inside you from all these different ages, bring them back into your heart and be like super powered with all their juice and creativity. And then like totally trust that you deserve love. Find people that will reflect that. Smash your life wide open.
Sounds great.
I have a question for you, Tom. I didn't want to interrupt you while you're on a roll there. That was awesome. How do we express ourselves in a way that doesn't trigger ourselves again? So how do we do that work? Yeah.
Okay, really important question. Really important question. And, you know, I'm simplifying it because I want to summarize the principles. And, if someone is severely emotionally disturbed, has profound and pronounced psychological issues, then a lot of these techniques aren't appropriate. You need to go way more slowly. Yeah. And so therefore get psychological help and do it really over a long period of time with an eye on doing somatic body releasing work. Okay with it. Okay. But for most everyday people, they can do this work on themselves. And by everyday people, we all have massive amounts of trauma. And we have a massive collection of a vast amount of micro traumas, which aren't in each individual situation that bad, but they mount up to a bucket of shit, right? Then we also have traumas of omission. So these are traumas that happen because things didn't happen that should have. The caring look, the arm around the shoulder when we had that difficult day at school, that support that we should have got that we didn't get. And so that's also a form of trauma, So the key is when you're doing this work on yourself, and we're happy to post some links. I've got guided meditations, give them for free, that will enable you to go and do this work on yourself. But one of the keys is you're not regressing back to the memory. So the most powerful thing to do is you get into a relaxed state, and then you imagine yourself in a really beautiful place that you feel safe, what we call a resource state. And then you bring from your past the child to be with you in the present. And so that's a way of, it's reparenting. It's reparenting. Now, memories do surface within that, and that's appropriate. That's normal. But the idea being is that the trauma is the child's. And as it comes through, it can feel very destabilizing. But if we can have the courage to sit with it and breathe through it and just trust in that nothing, no emotion can hurt us. And if we can trust that, then even though it feels very disturbing, it shouldn't pique our trauma and create re-trauma, okay? But it is really important to have a very regulated system and to be as relaxed as possible. If you can't get into a relaxed physical state to look at this stuff, then it's probably too raw and better to do it with the therapist. But actually what I've found is combining meditation and music with these simple visualization techniques, most people can kind of change their self-sabotage around and really start opening themselves to loving themselves and receiving compliments and making positive changes in their lives.
How's that, Stephanie?
Amazing. Yeah,
What,
interested in the links. Yeah.
Yeah. What is that now, considering you just came on to a live broadcast on Facebook to talk about this, right? Where, in terms of where you were now before to where you are now, like what is sort of opening up for you about that?
How do you mean?
Well, just from talking to Tom, from where you were before and where you are now, like what's that provided you?
That there's hope that this sort of stuff can be resolved, and that you can move forward and live a normal, happy life with joy and etc.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the... Sorry, you go, Tom.
No, it's just, yeah, I just want to confirm that there really is, this is a well-trodden path. It's a well-trodden path. I've helped many, many people walk it and have created tools that enable people to walk it themselves. But without that understanding, without that appreciation of the part that's previously been sabotaging, until it feels loved, like it's your greatest ally. It's been protecting a child inside you. It's like until it feels loved, it won't budge an inch, Because until you can turn up and go, wow, thank you for fucking so much up for me. I really get what you were doing. It's like, now she's ready. Now she's ready. So it's the love that will repurpose the defense. Okay. And it's like, and it is this, the thing that makes it less likely to be traumatic is a little bit like if one of my children told me that they'd had a nightmare. And I said, come sit on my lap, tell me all about it, right? And if they were just about to start and I went, but just no vampires, because that stuff, I can't handle vampires, right? Anything but vampires, right? Can you imagine how scary that would be for me? Even if her dream was about dinosaurs, just the fact that there's some no-go areas would mean I'm not the guy to speak to. I should go to her mum. And it's like, It's the deepest willingness to look at the deepest pain, which means we don't even really need to release it. It will release, but that's less relevant. It's that willingness. That's what makes you the parent to yourself. That's what says to that child inside, you know what, I don't need them to be consistent. I don't need them to be present. But the other thing that creates evolution here is that until we resolve this with ourselves, and we've spoken about this before, Jess, as well, I think this came up in the first one, then actually there's a huge amount of unspoken anguish between us and our parents, whether they're alive or dead. And that goes to affect all of our relationships, especially with them, but also with other people too, where there's this unresolved victimology that we play out, you know, and we almost want our life to be on hold and to fail quite publicly so that we're communicating to the dynamic, hey, you guys are all getting on with your lives, but I'm here to let the world know our family had fucking issues. You know, it's what I call the black sheep messaging system, you know? And I'm speaking to generalizations because I'm aware that this is poignant for other people if it's not exactly accurate for you. And it's like, as we work through these things, it enables us to really, you know, the only person we're hurting with that stuff is ourselves. And we're making other people responsible. So weirdly, this journey is first about helping people realize and helping your inner children realize, wow, I was really let down and it really was everyone else's fault, right? Really breaking the denial down. Forget forgiveness. That comes later, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second phase of it is like, actually, it's not what happened. It's what I've done with it. So it's not their fault at all. It's totally in my control. And then that's the liberation, you know, but we have to go in order. We try and do the forgiveness stuff before we've done the laundry on the emotional trauma. We just, not only does it not work, but we miss out on the gold, which is the bringing the kid home, you know, bringing that young version home and you looking after her. You know, there are times when you feel like, when we have that stuff unresolved, we feel like an imposter, or we feel age inappropriate, like talking in public, or even sometimes being sexual with people. It doesn't feel age appropriate. It's because we've got these frozen kids inside us that don't feel comfortable speaking in public to adults, or don't even feel comfortable being fully sexual as an adult because they're still young. Mm-hmm. And so actually it's by integrating these parts that they get to realize themselves that they're not young anymore, that they're safe with you, and that you can be boundary and you can be free. And then our soul goes, now it's safe for you to be in the world. Because if you don't have that self-love and you've got sabotage going on, your soul will be like, you know what, let's just stay in and watch more TV. Because to be in relationship or to fall in love would be too terrifying, because your soul knows you wouldn't protect yourself. You wouldn't have been safe. You would have given away your power, been exploited, been exploitable, and actually could have ended up getting a lot more hurt. So then with that, you get the freedom and the trust, you know?
Yeah.
Now, someone else has just jumped on, but I just want to conclude this because this is really great. And Tom, what you're saying is awesome. And I just a couple of things that I want to add, and also just get your thoughts on. Anyone who is watching, everyone's commenting on, you know, really just big thank you to you, Tom, because you're communicating in such a way that's really resonating. One of the things, you know, this frozen, as you said, someone's frozen, and then there's certain sort of this kind of experience comes up. Does it really ever go away? Or is it that things trigger it and you kind of it just loses power over you?
It's a difference between, so you probably can't see it here, but I've got a really nasty scar on my arm here, right? When that happened, it really hurt. I mean, it really hurt. And if you ask me to remember how much it hurt when it happened, I remember every last detail. But if you asked me if you could poke around, put your finger and jab around in that area of my arm right now, I'd have no concern. I'd have no fear, right? Whereas if you'd done that whilst it just happened and it was still open, oh my God, the thought of it would have made me wince, right? I would have cried before you even touched it. And that's the difference between something that is an open wound, right, and something that's healed. And it's like once something is healed, we're able to explore it and it doesn't bring in the same charge. Now, because of my hurts and my wounds, I'm particularly sensitive to people who are being exploited or abused. My story is informed with sensitivities because of my past trauma, but I'm no longer like I was on a group recently and a woman was talking about a slight abuse rate, and another woman couldn't watch the rest of the video because she was getting so agitated. Whereas I watched the video, I felt massive compassion and sorrow for this person that was a victim, but my system didn't get agitated because my own journey with my trauma in that way is healed. But this informs my character every day. So this is part of for me, it's like once you choose your story, you can use your story, you know? So it's like, this is where the gifts are, you know? And so it's like, no, it never goes away. I still have scar tissue. It shapes who I am and how I choose to love. But but I'm no longer energized in fear in the front of such things.
Yeah. Would you say as well, it really takes practice. So even when you, I always put that out there. I'm no guru, right? And this is how I see the world. The way I see it is that the triggers, you're never going to be free of triggers. You're not going to wake up one day and then suddenly just get triggered by nothing ever again. You're constantly going to get triggered by things, but the degree and the things that you get triggered by become a bit more meaningful. That's what I've noticed. So in my journey, what I used to get triggered by, like you said, every personal development, everything I've done, everything I've looked at, it starts with parents, and parents trigger things. And then you get some access to really resolving things around your parents, to what Tom's talking about. And then you still get triggered, but what you're getting triggered by is no longer the toilet seat or that the washing up's not done. You're getting triggered at a different thing. So right now we've got people getting triggered by 5G, and we've got people getting triggered by the virus, and we've got people getting, so things become, there's different triggers, but do you really think that they ever go away? I'm saying, Tom, they don't. And that what you get good at is processing them so that they don't impact your everyday experience of life, and that they're more of a indicator of something. They teach you something about where you're at.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, I really believe, I mean, for me, like I know my clients' work is done when they turn up with a present day trauma, right? Something that's really upset them, they're triggered, right? I mean, for me, triggering is different to being pissed off, right? So triggering is like something, you're having an over response to something because of something unresolved in you, right? And so there's a beautiful opportunity. My clients turn up, they're upset about something. I literally get them to feel the energy signature. Well, what does that feel like? Where do you feel it? Let's drop this story. And when have you felt this before? I mean, I use techniques to open it up. It's like, when have you felt this before, right? And it's like, boom, they're back in. There's something unresolved in their past. It could be recent past or childhood past. So then they work through it. They find this part of themselves. They heal it. They integrate it. They get extra passion or clarity and, you know, creativity. And it's like, I know my client's work is done because they are actually grateful for that present day trigger. They see the beauty. The universe was inviting them home to greater freedoms and greater self-expression, and it wouldn't have happened if that boss hadn't been a dick, right? So then it's like, would you want that not to have happened? They're like, no, I'm glad it happened. I'm like, boom, job done, right? And so for me, it's like, is there evolution continually being asked to be understood, right? Yes. It's like every day. I mean, in the Hindu philosophy, it's like, you know, it's called the guru principle, which is like, if you're paying attention, every day is school. Every interaction, every relationship is a reflection to the level of self-love and freedom you have. And all of your annoyances and all of your upsets are opportunities to look at, where are you still holding on to judgment? Where are you still holding on to fear? And so, yes, the human experience will always be fraught with fear. But you're right, as we get deeper and deeper into it, it's less about, oh no, my friends don't like me, or, you know, am I going to get that girl or get that boy, or, you know, and it becomes much more about, how am I really turning up as a free being of integrity and accountability? And, you know, so yeah, we go deeper into our journey. For me, the deeper I've gone into my psychology, the more frail I realize I am.
How do you know when you've made it to that point of clarity, I guess, that you're moving forward and the issues have been resolved?
It's a really lovely question. For me, some people rush, like, they try and do the spiritual bypass. Oh, I've done a meditation on forgiveness, and it's like, for me, like the gratitude thing, you can't choose gratitude. Like, gratitude is a really organic thing that arrives when something is complete. So it's like, so my journey with my own mum was really fraught. I mean, she loved me, but I didn't grow up feeling that love. Partly because her own self-love wasn't fully there, so she couldn't communicate it. Two, partly because we had kind of a bit of a personality clash, and there was a lot of competitiveness between me and my brother. So me and her are good now, but for me, that led me to really struggle. But I didn't know I was struggling. I was a hedonist. I took lots of, I was looking for happiness in all the wrong potions. But I was also obsessed with making my mum love me. But of course, I wasn't trying to make my mum love me. I was trying to make every woman I met love me, and I became obsessed with validation. And that caused a lot of pain for me, and it caused a lot of pain for people that I was, being an egotist with. But actually, along that way, I learned so much about communicating, and I learned so much about building rapport. And the full circle I've turned with my mum now gives me so much joy and informs how I'm as a parent. That now I would not change one hair on her head. I would not change one of the interactions I had with my mum when I was younger, as painful as they were. I wouldn't change them. I am legitimately and sincerely grateful for them. And someone once said to me, you're complete with your parents if when you talk about them, people think that the world is a better place because they are in it.
Okay.
And I would add to that my experience, because I'm going to keep coming back to this. I'm fine if you want to say that you disagree, is that it doesn't ever feel like it's ever over. It's like a mountain without a top. There's no place that you arrive to, Steph, and you suddenly like, I'm cooked, I'm done, I've gotten rid of all the triggers. No triggers here. I'm complete with everything. No one annoys me. Everyone loves me, and all things are working out. My business is thriving. It's not kind of how it kind of seems to work. What I can see is that, for me, when I went, I knew that I had resolved a lot, and I'd done the work to resolve a lot of things and really dug in and allowed myself to feel in ways I've never felt before. When anything could happen to me and I could trust myself to deal with it. And I didn't have to make it mean anything about me. And if I did make it mean something about me, I'd forgive myself very quickly and go, oh, there's me making it mean that I'm not important. And 30 minutes later, I'd be like, oh my God, I just did that thing again. As opposed to it lasting years. Me fighting with people. Me having it re-triggered everywhere I went because I was annoyed. So that was kind of the indicator for me, Tom. And I just wanted to share that with you as when I bring that up because not to, firstly, I'm like Tom and I, we're supposed to be in some way arguing with each other. We just never do. But we tend to just expand on everything. But it's always something that I can hear in the background is people looking for that one day they're not going to be the way they are. Or I definitely experienced that. It was like one day I'm going to be fixed. I'm going to be different. I'm not going to have this anymore. To some degree, you won't. To some degree, there will just be things that you don't get triggered by anymore. Like Tom's pointing to. You literally are like, it was the best thing that ever happened. But what I'm saying, Tom, is that new things will show up, except you'll relate to them so differently. But you might feel similar things.
So yeah, I mean, so let's be really clear. I agree. I really agree with what you said there. I also think it's really important that there is a fantasy in psychology, more certainly psycho-spirituality, that there is such a thing as enlightenment, a fixed and final state that we arrive at, and that we stay super cool for the rest of our life, right? It's like, I think that idea is spiritually materialistic. It's not anything I've ever seen. It's not anything I understand in the map of psychology. And it's not, I think, something that's actually really, really talked about in most actual deep spiritual texts as being a final point. You know, it's like there are stories of many of our great prophets having lost their shit completely at certain points, right? And I think the idea that we should be aspiring to something neutral like that is ridiculous, unhelpful, and it's just another form of egotism.
Good. Yeah. I
And
think that's effectively what I wanted to say, and you just said it far more succinctly. I was trying to say, how do I say? There's no way, no one's enlightened, and anyone who says they are full of shit.
no, the key, yeah, totally. And the key is having more and more enlightened moments, right? That's the key.
Yeah.
Having more and more enlightened moments. But I will say this: there is a turning point with your relationship with self-sabotage. That can be a specific shift where you are no longer fighting yourself and you are allowing yourself to be seen, you're allowing yourself to be loved, you're allowing yourself to be healthy, you're allowing yourself to be beautiful, you receive compliments and you allow yourself to begin thriving. That is a switch. It can take some time to flick that switch, but that is an evolution, step that is takeable and doable, and there's a map for it, okay?
Yeah.
Can I ask something?
And you even...
Yeah, sure.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, Jess, you go.
I was just going to say, and additionally, you also forgive yourself quickly after you lose your shit.
Yeah.
That's a part of it too. So everything Tom said, and you do lose your shit and you just forgive yourself really quickly. Oh, there, I did it again. Whoops. Sorry, you go.
Just thinking in terms of like family, because you keep talking about like mums and parental and that sort of stuff. And obviously I do agree that mainly comes from that sort of source or stem. If you get to that point within yourself, but the people within your family are not kind of working with you, how does that kind of work? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. So,
good question.
So for me, it's a really good question. I kind of answer this with one kind of answer, right? Which is, so I'm all about unconditional love, right? Where we can really, really just, you know, we're loving people because of who we are, not because of who they are, right? We're loving ourselves. Like, you are made by them, okay? So I'm not saying it was easy, right? But it's like, I love you as you are, right? I trust in your heart and the capabilities inside you. It's like, I wouldn't change your parents one dot, because then you'd be different and you wouldn't be here. They'd be with someone else and you'd never been created, right? So let's start with that, okay? But unconditional love is not unconditional geography. So some people I love from some distance. Yeah? You know, there is a recognition that that whilst we can love them, they're not necessarily holding a set of beliefs or values or behaviors or energy, which means we come away from spending time with them where we're honored, expanded, or even safe sometimes, right? And so sometimes it's a matter of, having to love people from some distance. But you know what?
Yeah.
And I'm really, you know, it's common in some spiritual circles to kind of recommend people step away from family. I'm the opposite of that. And wherever possible, see this as the deepest work, right? To really work through the gnarly edges. But what's interesting is usually what makes things stick is the unresolved resentments that we're holding on to. And so we can't change anyone. But what I realized is I went from the victim says to the parents, I need you to be different so I can feel good about myself, right? Whereas the healed, wounded child, right? So the liberated person then goes to communicate to parents because they do not need them to be remotely different. But because I have love for my parents, I communicate to them about who they are and how they're turning up because I want them to experience freedom and joy. Now, they are no longer being criticized or made responsible for my failings, which they will naturally defend against. And they do that by judging me, not being interested in what I do, not calling very much. Whereas if I flip that and I love myself because of who they are, and I give them total gratitude for what they have created, and and then I communicate to them because I think they could be more free, and I would just love them to be happier because I fucking love them. And it's not even about what I'm saying, it's what I'm demonstrating. How we get a diluted form of their dysfunction. So it's not even fair of us to expect them to be as cool as us. It's meant to be the evolution. So we reflect the future, right? By demonstrating how cool it is to not be, you know, such a snob or such a prejudiced person or whatever it is that you're pissed off about them about, right? It's like, you know, negligent or, you know, whatever, right? And it's like, so we just get to be that little bit, you know, our destiny is to pass on less shit to the next generation. Yeah, so we're meant to be the evolution. And so we don't do it by what we tell them, we do it by what we show them, right? And it's mainly love. And so sometimes the most recalcitrant or resistant or problematic parent can be totally transformed by a child that shows them the way with love.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful, Tom. Put it very well. And look, I know you want to say something. There is someone sort of waiting here to also ask a question to you as well. So I just wanted to mention that. But did you want to say something? Yeah.
Oh, I just there's a letter that we can post, which is called the Golden Apology, which is an expression from the once broken, now healed child to the parent, which is just a totally, you know what, I take total responsibility for my reality, and I love you as you are, and I'm sorry for all of the tension I brought to our relationship because I've been holding on to resentment, and I change it now. Now that's not a letter you necessarily send, but that's a letter you work towards being true. So we'll post that too. Okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, lovely speaking.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Steph. Thanks so much for sharing yourself with everyone here as well and being vulnerable. I really appreciate it.
This is so much better than talking about 5G. I can't tell you.
You're so... Tom's like, thank God we're not talking about 5G again and the Illuminati. I'm like, I love that too. But yeah, thank you, Steph.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Nui, you there?
Hey.
Thank you for waiting so patiently.
I had a few technical issues, but it's fine.
You're here now?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool. So I had a thing that came up today, which was someone called me. I'm a matakite, which is a spiritual healer from New Zealand. So she rang me specifically for me to give her answers for her past life. That was her only reason. And I find that happens quite a lot with me. When I first started learning about it, I was helpful with anyone that came along. I wouldn't suggest that as a thing. I think we kind of need boundaries and, you know, standards and stuff. But it happens quite often where they'll get into deep conversations, and it's nice to just be basic sometimes. And I find it's hard to bring them back. It's like they have this idea of who I am, but it's not just that I am. And it's about working through for them to understand that I'm a Gemini. There's so many different sides to me. Not one way. You know, I've worked through a lot of the trauma that I've had, like spiritual level and physical level. It's pretty much everything I've gone through. I like with your letter, I did the thing where I thanked my mother for every lesson that I learned. When I clocked that lesson that she learned, awful at the time, but blessing in disguise, I was like, cool, thank you for that, because this is what that taught me. And so that she could relieve the guilt that she had tied to that. So it's like constantly working through her guilt on anything that she did. But she's based in fear, so I understand that. I understand that's where she's at, because I was quite reactive as a child. I can imagine how hard it was to actually deal with me. There was no limits. It was like when you're in a net and you just push on the sides, but you're not outside. You're still within the boundaries, but you're kind of testing. So I was quite like that as a child. So I just kind of, it's hard to, I don't know, not put expectations on people, I guess. to just, you know, muggle out every once in a while. Because the psyche is quite an intensive thing, even if you're looking at quantum physics and biology or even epigenetics, which is just like 2 generations back. It's also what they teach in Indigenous law. So in Māori law, it's 2 generations back that you go whenever you're looking at anything. And 2 forward is where the effect goes for. So any suggestions?
So I heard your reflections. I'm not sure I heard a question. Did you get a question, Jess?
Oh, it's just how do I get them to not always want something? Like just to talk for no apparent fucking reason, just about anything.
You know what I can...
A crystal ball. I don't actually own a crystal ball. I can spirit, but I still don't always need to. Like if it's not my question, it's not actually my job. So when I ask them to ask, you know, do meditation or something and figure it out themselves, they get really upset at me. I'm like, how the fuck do you think I figured it out?
Do you know what I can really hear behind what you're saying? This is what I can hear your question is. How do I get people to see all of me, not just just that one part of me?
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but it's just what I can hear. It's like, how do I, you know, you kind of create this brand as a healer, don't you?
Yeah.
Particularly if you do share things like an intuition with people, it's kind of fancy. I like it. I'm listening to you going, I think I do that to my friends who are intuitive. You know, I'm like, I was just on the phone to someone before and I went, oh, I've got a really sore shoulder. Can you, because she tells me she's psychic. And so I'm like, can you tell me what that is? And she went, stretch. And got off the phone. But you know, so I do get it. And it sounds like what it is you are feeling like is like, how do I get fully seen in all the other parts of me, not just this?
Yeah.
I also think, you know, we have a responsibility as teachers or guides or healers to understand that, you know, we've been brought up in a kind of paternalistic, solution focused, there's something external to me that's going to give me the answer, right? And it's like one of the biggest changes in healthcare that needs to happen is to move from this paternalistic model where it's like, I mean, in you know, prior to the 50s, you know, anywhere you went for medical care, they wouldn't even necessarily discuss your treatment with you. They'd be like, don't you worry about it, we'll just take care of it, right? And of course, you know, if you combine that with a social care health system, people aren't taking an active interest in their own responsibility for their own health, right? And it's trebly so for people's spiritual health. People want to find someone that they deem special, right? Yeah. Who's going to then tell them what to do, give them the answers, and enable them to abdicate personal responsibility for their freedom. And our role is to be an access point, to make reflections from our open channel, you know, to share what we can see, but constantly in a way where we're inspiring people to get that there's nothing special about us. We're just tapped into exactly the same source of awareness that they could be, and that we have to develop their, you know, their willingness to see themselves in that way. But I think, you know, when the universal, when we are someone that is able to channel, then you know, people are so in need of help that we get lots of people coming to us, you know. So being super boundaried, you know, when I first started, I'm like, call me anytime, you know, like night or day, I'll be there, you know. And it's just like, what the hell was I thinking, you know? It's just like, now I say to my clients, you can text message me whenever you want and I will get back to you, definitely within 48 hours, hopefully much sooner than that, right? But I do that within my time, and I'm more boundaried about when I pick up the phone. But when you're powerful, you know, the joy of that is the fact people will come to you. And I think one of the best ways to break the projection, right, of the perfect teacher, this bullshit material, spiritual materialism, I want the perfect teacher, and they're meditating all day long and they never watch Netflix or eat a Mars bar, you know. And it's just like, we have a responsibility to really humanize ourselves. And it's like, please, and Jess is brilliant at this. She's constantly like, I'm nothing special, I'm not a guru, I'm not, you know, she's like, she's worked hard, she's learned a lot, she's got things to share, but she doesn't want you thinking her different to anything, anything every day. And I think what part of the problem is, with the labels that we create, people bring a lot of meaning to those labels, and our job is to be really grounded in our spirituality or our philosophy or our psychology, and we're just constantly normalizing it. This is just everyday stuff. I call it like practical and pragmatic psychology and philosophy, so we can have a slightly better day.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And I'll just to add to what Tom is saying, to answer your question as well, what can you do? One of the things I love to do when, like Tom said, people refer to me as having answers or providing something, and I'm many different. I don't claim to be a healer, but I do a lot of work. And so I do get sort of related to in some way, like I have the answers, right? One of the things I say is, what do you think?
That's a great question.
I just say, people go, oh, Jess, what do you say about this? What do you say? And look, I could talk all day about it, but like you, some days I'm like,
I always make them answer first. That is my thing now, because I used to just tell them, and I'm like, they're not really learning anything. It's not really helping them it's like a Band-Aid fix. It's like medication. I look at it the same. It's lazy alignment, basically. If someone could just pull it from you, yeah, they can pull it, but then they have to pull it through their system. Like I did it where it actually physically unbalances me. So I just stopped doing that. And I'm like, well, these are some options. You can do it or you cannot. You sit in your shit or not, sweet as. Like, I'm good either way. It's not my life. But this is your life. And this is, if you're okay with that and that's what you want, sweet as, do that. If you don't want that and you want to do something else, do that. Nice. But either way, it's your choice. But some of them get quite frustrated by that.
Oh, so you're wanting the answers. Yeah, I mean, and another thing I always do is I just always share authentically what's there. Right now, I think you're frustrated because I'm not giving you the answers. And I don't want you to be frustrated, but I just want to talk to you like human to human. I'm a big fan of calling out whatever is there authentically.
Oh, nice.
Not as a projection, but just as like I think that this is here in the space. Yeah, no, just as this is between you and I feel like in this space right now, you're frustrated. Yeah. I may be wrong, and sometimes I am. Some people do just have resting frustrated face. So I am wrong sometimes, and sometimes you can think it's there, right? So yeah, it's but calling it out and owning it, like I could be wrong, but what I'm seeing here is this, and then saying I just want to talk to you. You don't need the answers. In fact, you've got them all yourself anyway. I'm just probably projecting what you already could access. Okay, nice. But how about we just talk? Let's talk about 5G. That was a joke.
I also think it's really important, something I learned myself as well. It's like, it's really important to take off the hat to close the channel, because sometimes you're out and about, it's like, I realized after I used to socialize every year, and friends had a place in Fuerteventura, and we'd all go out, and there were a number of families that would stay in the village, and it was like a whole 40 or 50 of us were kind of partying, and doing these different things. But there was this one family that stopped looking me in the eyes. I'm like, I think I've really offended them, and I one of them got a bit drunk and they decided to tell me. And it's like, over the last few years, just at the bar, I might have just spoken to them about something I could see, and I'd made like 3 or 4 people in their family cry, just because I'm just, the channel's open, and I'm not like, listen, just like, and they talk to me about their problems, right? Because I can help, but then they get answers that freak them out or make them emotional. So then I'll become some like voodoo nightmare person, right? And it's like, they're not looking me in the eyes, and it's like, what I need to understand, there's a time and a place to be in that role, and there's a time and a place to kick back on a beach barbecue and not be a kind of channel dick, Right. I'm not saying you're doing that, right? But it's it's important for us also not to buy into the identity of being channel or healer, or it's just like, it's it's important to be bounded within our own identity too.
Okay.
No, it's beautiful.
Cool, thank you.
Now, I would, of course, love to talk to you even more. We have gone, it is now past 10, and Tom probably has to get to work. It's like 12 p.m. over there in the UK. And you're in New Zealand. Thanks for tuning in. And you've been tuning in on a couple of hours, I think. You've come to
They're
last.
hilarious. I love them. They're always great.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. Is there anything you want to say, or any sort of last words you want to say?
No, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again for also having the courage to share yourself online. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And also thanks to, I've just seen a few comments popping up. People have been very kind.
Yeah.
It's been a real joy. It's been it's been a real joy to be here again. I'm really enjoying these. And
yes.
And this today was more the vision of what I originally thought, which is people coming on and us having real conversations about solutions for evolution. So it's exciting. It feels really alive.
It's amazing when you set an intention, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
It just shows up. It's like creating the future.
Yes, because we said to people on the first two, hey, come on, right? But we didn't have that intention, And
we
beforehand,
didn't.
I was like, I don't want to talk about 5G anymore. I want to help people.
I was like, I want to talk about 5G. I think it's fascinating. You're like, no. I love this guy. And then someone said, where did you get your communication skills from? And I wrote, he is a god.
Oh, well,
so just in case you thought you weren't going to get guru status, I just gave you some.
You know what? When you're jobbing, my original training was in hypnotherapy, and that's the type of training where your clients don't talk to you, you talk to them. And so hours and hours and hours of working out ways in which communicating these principles in ways where they're understood. So it's been 20 years in the crafting. So thank you.
That's pretty much. I think when you become obsessed with anything, you start to see and act in ways consistent with the obsession. So you became obsessed. You even say it all the time. Obsessed with human epiphanies and breakthroughs, if you call them.
How can I can't tell you how frustrating it was for the first few years. I had this kind of moment of clarity when I tried to talk to people. They didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. It was like so annoying. It's like I can share something with you which will make you feel so much better about everything, and yet I can't do it. What's wrong? So I was like, well, how do people do that? What are the stories? What are the analogies? What are the metaphors? What are the techniques? What are, and it's like, what does that? And it was so hard. And probably only in the last 5 or 6 years have I really condensed it into a system that really is coherent and consistent. So now that's all I've been talking about it for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and it shows that the way that you communicate really does communicate really clearly and potently around this topic. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, and for everyone who tuned in, thank you so much. We're going to have part 4. It's supposed to just be a 4-part series, but it's probably just going to keep going. No doubt.
I love that. We might not be allowed to do it on Earth Elders. We weren't allowed to do it on Earth Elders today.
She's just texted me. It was just a
some error, I'm sure. But I'm really happy on Evolve to carry on. I'm loving it. So.
Yeah, we are loving it. So if you have any questions or you'd like to come on next week, same time, 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, in the UK, 12 p.m. If you do want to come on and, if you're grappling with something and you want to, get access to, we've got completely different modalities and different ways of looking at this. And if you want to get access to that, we're here to support you. So, yeah, totally. So thank you. And if I don't get a chance to talk about 5G, I'll just create another show. That's fine.
Oh, good. And I will put the links. I'll give you the links I'll post them underneath here to the recordings that you can use. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Your free mind recordings. Is that one? Yeah. Awesome. So you can do the work. All right. Thank you so much, everyone who tuned in. Sonia, Stephanie, Marta, Tiora, 6G. Yes. Anyone else who's on that I can't see, any of the lurkers, thank you for tuning in as well. And Tom, as always, I just love you and love speaking with you. So thank you again. See you later, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.